December 24th, 2025, Christmas Eve. Well, I want to address something today. I just got off of a space show with the former NASA administrator Mike Griffin as the host, that makes him the guest of the show. And he was talking about the sorry state of our moon program right now. For instance, I guess we just released a official uh, governmental objective here, and an executive order is to achieve a moon landing, I guess, by the end of 2028. Wonder why that date would be significant. You know why it would be. You can tell me. But at any rate, so he was looking at the architecture of the current Artemis program, and explaining why it's very likely to be a failure, will not get us to the moon by that date, and maybe not at all. And of course, he had his own paper and his own presentation to Congress he made on what he would recommend instead. The problem there is it probably doesn't fit into a 2028 timeline, and we're in a competition with China, whose plans to get there at least by, I guess, by before 2030, allegedly, and they might want to try to not tell us that they might want to beat us there, and they may not even be too worried at this point that they won't beat us there, actually. So, and of course, we've been there before. You have that argument, but of course, their plan apparently involves an ongoing program, not just planting their commie flag up there and then going home. They plan to continue to send things up there and continue to do lunar development. And so that was kind of the thrust of the show was that, and I had a few questions I asked of Mike Griffin there too, which might be interesting. But the show will be published on Substack and YouTube, particularly for most of you. I think YouTube will be the most convenient thing, and it probably will come up within a day or two. To find it, you just look under real the real space show is what it is, because there's another thing called the space show, which is something else entirely. It's not really what you want. The real space show on YouTube, and it'll probably be up in a day or two, and it'll be the one from, of course, December 23rd. So that's how you can find the right one with Mike Griffin. It's about an hour long, and it's an interesting discussion there, and so people might find it interesting. Well, whatever. So at any rate, that's a real issue. And so if you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, or of course you can also check it out on Rumble. Yeah, so that's kind of it. And I want to go ahead and make some comments on this. Where things went wrong was, of course, Obama was elected president. A lot of things went wrong in this country because Obama was elected president. If that guy hadn't been elected president, then we'd have had McCain. Well, better than Obama, though. A bad Republican's better than a good Democrat any day of the week. So, but the point I would like to say is that that what happened was we had a program going into the Obama administration, coming out of Bush, called the Constellation Program, which would have developed the capsule and the rocket to go to the moon and would have the full capabilities needed. And what ended up happening is that this was all canceled by Obama because I guess he wanted to spend more money on social programs or something, and probably had little imagination either. And then after that, the Congress pushed back and sort of got the basic rocket that was the core of the Constellation program, and it was then called the SLS, and it would use derivative components from the space shuttle program in order to make a heavy lift vehicle. And originally, this thing was supposed to be a rocket that would be fully capable of doing what would be necessary to do a moon mission. But then what went wrong was the following. They started budgetarily scaling it back. They made a miniature upper stage on it, which didn't have the right delta V and the right payload to cislunar space in order to do it. And so we did keep the capsule, which was called that was developed there, and and this eventually all got the Orion. It's called the Orion, but we didn't develop a real American-made capable service module to be the propulsion unit for it. We let the European Space Agency put something together. And so what ends up came when we got to the Artemis program, which came out of the first Trump term, and we had a politician or something put in there, and they thought it'd be a cool idea to bring in SpaceX's rocket as, of all things, the lunar lander. And there's a lot of technical issues. If you want to get what the issues are, in a day or so, you can look up the space show, and he will go through, Mike Griffin will go through what the problems are. And at any rate, so this kind of Rube Goldberg concept, which they even threw in a mini space station there called the Gateway that we're going to put in this really weird orbit. And the reason they selected this orbit is that the rocket they ended up making didn't have the lift capacity to really put the capsule into low lunar orbit like we did during Apollo. And so the result is, not so good. Now we have the problem with the although SpaceX has done very good on their Starship program, what they really have developed, in my opinion, is a really great heavy lift, the low Earth orbit craft. It can put probably, once it's fully developed, over 100 tons into orbit. I don't know. Maybe they could even scale it up more. That's debatable. But it's going to be able to be a really good heavy lift to orbit vehicle. So if you want to build a space station or put up a lot of Starlink satellites or certain things that the Space Force might need for national security purposes, it may be a real asset. And he hopes to turn this into a thing which he can refuel and eventually fly to Mars with it. Okay, that's a whole other issue. I'm going to get into that. But he also got the deal to make a lunar lander version of it, which is going to be somewhat modified from the other version. But the problem is it requires on-orbit refueling with cryogenic fuels, which has never been done before, particularly on the scale we're talking about. And we're going to need multiple launches to get this in orbit. And of course, the question is the boil off of these cryogenics in orbit while one craft after another is sent up there. And then we have the question of the safe return of the people from the moon if some emergency develops, because they'd be stuck in a situation where it would be like 6 days before they could take off. And not only that, but landing this big rocket on the moon, going down, probably most of you, I don't know how many people are old enough to remember the old science fiction shows of the 50s or something, ever seen any of these, where they actually just land the rocket on its tail. Well, that's what it does. But the problem is you're doing it on the moon for the first time, and if there's a boulder in the way or something, oh well. There's a lot of problems with this, and then you have to get the astronauts and their equipment down from the top of this thing and get them down to the surface. So it's not like, I don't know if you saw this stuff about the Apollo missions from many, many decades ago, how they just simply went down pretty easily down a ladder. Well, this would be a little bit more involved. So that's kind of the situation. And anyway, this space show episode goes into it. So anybody that likes that, you can check it out. It'll probably be up in a day or two. I can't really put a link to it now. I'll post one later when it becomes available. How about that? So if anybody wants to see it. And so that's about it on that. Otherwise, I understand that the Democrats are still raising hell about Trump blowing up the drug boats. And I made a cutesy comment on X tonight saying that the Democrats are really worried it's going to drive up the prices of their cocaine. But, well, I got to make some snarky comment about Democrats to make this politically fun. And at any rate, so I'm wishing everybody a Merry Christmas here. This will be and then, of course, the last one before Christmas. Will probably be more before New Year's. And so I'll be posting this as always on YouTube and Rumble, and the address of my social media accounts are listed in the description below. And I'll try to remember to post a comment when I get the actual link for that space show I mentioned. All for now.